live. All right, we're live right now. I'm not sure what platforms. My whole system is all jacked up, but I know we're definitely on YouTube. So let me check. Let me check over here. Let me just make sure.
We're on somebody's platform.
We're on somebody's platform for sure.
We're back. We had a bit of a hiatus.
So good evening, everyone. This is Uche and Njoku. I'm here with my brother.
Archie Tyson in the house. What's up, peoples?
Our deepest apologies for being absent, but life happens, and life happens for real.
Yeah.
And as a result, we definitely made extreme efforts to be here the last 2 weeks, but it just didn't work out. But we're here right now, and we have much to talk about. So I'm going to pass the platform to my brother here as I make sure that I know we're live. I just don't know where we're live right now. I'll be honest with you. I don't know where we're live right now, but I know we're live.
And again, as Brother Larry said, we do apologize about missing those last 2 weeks. Again, life happens. We have real live children and go to real live daycares and schools that bring home real live germs and and it got bad for me for a little while, and then I had a bit of a emergency there. But we are back. We are thrilled to be back, and we're thrilled to jump and dive into a few topics tonight. Hopefully, you do enjoy, and hopefully you can go ahead and chime in. It's a lot happening in the world. We're not gonna get to everything, but we're gonna get to a few things today. So, definitely glad to be here.
So something just came to mind right now that I want to use as a stepping stone to a topic or various topics we might have. So this morning, I have a tendency to get up really early. It's my habit, and when I get up, I go for a walk. I want to go to the gym. This morning I chose to go for a walk. And as I was walking this morning, it's still dark. It's probably about 5:30, 5-ish, 5:30-ish. I'm walking. I live in New Rochelle, state of New York. It's relatively safe, calm. It's not. I'll tell you this. It's probably not as safe as calm for me, but however, for the general population, it is. So I take the liberties of being able to move, and I won't lie to you. Often I've gone for my walks in the morning. I'm cutting through New Rochelle, through Larchmont, through Mamaroneck, and I'm a walker. And I realize, and I know this, as I walk through certain points, I'm entering spaces where somebody could probably look out their window and be like, 911, there's a person.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cold outside, so I got the hoodie on, so I look like an assailant. I got the hoodie on.
What's the village that's in between Mount Vernon and New Rochelle? Is it start with a P? God dog, when I lived up there.
Pelham. You talking about Pelham?
Pelham. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Pelham. I know you're not just strolling through Pelham.
I don't go through Pelham. But however, I go through Larchmont. Larchmont is money. Like but what happens is I'm very aware. I'm on Boston Post Road. I'm on the major, those major streets. But at the same time, it's interesting because I tell you, I'm at ease. I've lived here. I live in this neighborhood now going on over 3 years, and when I'm walking through the mornings, I know where all the patrol cars usually sit. So I got to the habit of walking by and doing you do the wave.
I do the wave, yeah. It's
do the wave, and you make sure you don't change your stride, so they recognize, oh, that's that guy who I see every morning. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you of course you have to be self-aware. Especially as a black man walking through a primarily non-black community, and not only that, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm walking 5'9", 225 pounds. I am definitely a threat in some people's eyes when they see my girth, my size, the way I move. But however, this morning as I was walking, but it's also, we're spatially aware of of your environment. And over to my shoulder, across the street, there was somebody who was also wearing a hoodie and dark clothing like me. And all of a sudden, he was a threat to me. I won't lie to you. In my mind, I was like, yo, where's this dude walking? And as we were walking for probably a good half a mile, he was literally across the street walking the same direction I was walking. And all these things went through my mind. And I thought to myself, like, why am I thinking what I'm thinking right now? As far as, being concerned about my personal safety, what this person is doing. And then I went down the rabbit hole of, is this person armed? If this person is armed, if they approach me, how would I diffuse the situation? How would I protect myself? I was going through all these scenarios in my head. And then I realized I was doing this in my head. I was like, what the heck is going on? And by the time I realized this dude had turned and walked into a shopping center. And you see him with his keys opening the store. And I was like, damn, I just built a whole entire narrative walking for about a mile. No, about almost a mile, building this narrative. And I was like, you know what? I live in New York State, in outside of right outside of New York City, in America right now, where I can turn my TV on and not just hear about so-and-so got robbed today. No, I can see videos of people pulling guns out and popping at each other at gas stations and streets, at bus stops and train stations. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Like all of a sudden now, my perception of safety is damn near non-existent. And before we start, you talked about, the shootings and the deaths in schools and things like that. But I'm like, now, I mean, this is like it's almost like it's been normalized now that you can expect to be a victim regardless of where you are.
Yeah.
And I'm not even quite sure what my question is, if I do have a question, but I just wanted to share that because I just thought it was crazy because that had never been the primary basis of my thought process, even though I grew up in spaces where I mean, stuff happened.
Right,
but now it's like different.
What you found out is I moved to a place where the so-called roots of so many of the reasons that like poverty is the reason that we were taught to think the lowest of humanity at every turn you coming up in the hood, right? Because everybody's hungry. And what you know is when you got a lot of hungry sharks, you got a lot of hungry dogs, a lot of hungry wolves, a lot of hungry werewolves. I talked about that on the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to think the lowest of humanity because everyone's struggling to survive. Then I throw myself in an environment where the economics don't necessarily matter. Poverty doesn't matter. Yet I still am dealing with a situation where I feel unsafe, whether that's um, um, because violence doesn't escape any facet of I think our society. It doesn't matter whether you're in low socioeconomic areas, in inner city, rural areas, like violence is there. And the true tragedy in this is even in this space and that in this new space you're in, you're like, oh, I made it. Hey, you and my family, we have enough money to be X, Y, and Z. You still have to think the lowest way about humanity, and you still have to have sickening thoughts in order to preserve your safety, right? And I think did I talk about the situation in Barbados when the lady handed me the baby? I think I went through that.
I remember that.
And like it wasn't until I got to my friend's house and I was telling them the experience, like, why would this lady hand me a baby? She don't know who I am. She don't know if I'm a robber or a rapist, a child molester, a killer. She don't know what's going on. And they all just laughed at me because it was like, who the hell would harm a child? Oh, you're a man. You're supposed to help a woman, of course, right? And I'm just like, well, every sick thought on the planet went through my head, thinking like, oh, and they were like, but we're taught to think the lowest of humanity instead of thinking the best of humanity. And here this other person is just strolling on the way to work or on the way to their store to open their store, just a casual morning, but like it's a safety measure. Because again, when I talk about there are no safe spaces for us here, even a morning stroll is not just not safe because of police, because of some random white person who might decide that, hey, I really don't like black people today, and I might run you down with a truck. It happens.
Yeah.
You also have to worry about, hey, is someone going to be out here looking to stick people up because they know where this is where folks are going to have money, or yeah, I mean, it's a situation now in terms of thinking about those. And when you mentioned the killings, I mentioned to Brother Larry here before we came on that Baltimore City Public Schools has, I think, witnessed 7 of his students murdered here in 2023. We're not talking the 2022-23 school year thus far. We're talking from January 1, 2023 to now. 7 students. And I said this probably eclipsed all of New York City combined. And New York City is the largest school district in the country. What is 1 million students in New York?
Yeah. Yeah. What, 1.2, 1.3?
Yeah, it's not even that many people in Baltimore City altogether. So I said this epidemic of violence and you having to think about it, it's warranted, because it's out there. It's something that we, as a culture, have to figure out how to deal with. And I think I don't know if you remember when we were doing new school design in the Summer Principals Academy. Shout out to all the SPA graduates out
A
there.
decade ago.
Was that a decade ago?
Yeah, bro. It's over a decade now.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, man.
I didn't know what my uncles and them used to talk about what happened to the time, but how does a decade just fly by? But I said our schools reflect our culture. I argued, and everybody looked at me crazy when I said it, of course, as usual, because I always say some controversy, stir up the hornet's nest. But I said schools are not edu- uh, uh, pure educational institutions. They're socializing institutions. They socialize you to become a citizen in a given society. And schools, public schools, only are going to reflect the society's values. And as a society, if we highly value racism, sexism, classism, violence, misogyny, and if we value all of that, it only makes sense that like our schools, our graduates are going to value, our children are going to value it as well. And it's going to show up in schools, right? It's going to show up in behaviors of children because as a society, apparently in movies, in music, and everything else, we value this. We sell it, we market it. Again, you can rap about killing everybody else. I mean, killing every black person on the planet, every planet. You can do all that, and that's perfectly fine to put out. Throw out millions of copies to see how much we can sell. But let you actually say something of some worth. Yeah, we don't want to get behind that, right? So I just think, a part of this is something that's larger in society, about what we value, and if we value uh, violence, then kids are going, younger and younger, are going to engage in the behaviors that apparently like our society seems to value, and it's going to happen at school, right? It's going to happen outside of schools, and that is terrifying to me, right? That children, and these are primarily black boys. And I said to my current cohort, my current doctoral cohort, somebody's going to hear this and be upset. I said, I equate school failures to bodies. And people kind of snickered and kind of, oh, what is he talking about? He's crazy. Yeah, I actually do. Because where I hail from, failures convert children into monsters. And
or victims of those monsters,
or victims
so
of these monsters.
It's a scale.
Right, yeah, it's and your fear this morning wasn't misplaced. Because believe me, they're out there. And they come in all sizes, shapes, colors, and all that. And my thing is, I'm not even afraid walking in the morning. Hell, I'm afraid when I go to the grocery store. I go to the car wash, go to a movie, take my
Oh
kids to the
man,
aquarium. I don't know.
let's
I don't know when it's gonna come.
let's talk about that. It's crazy that you said that because yeah, like this morning, my brain, of course, like any entity, any living entity has the ability to reason. You're gonna build that. You're gonna assess a situation and be like, okay, what's going on here? But you're right about that. The places that I'm most concerned about, especially when I'm with my children, are grocery stores. Or even going to the movies. Anywhere that's enclosed, where I have to now assess how do I get out of here, especially if there's only one way to come in or go out. Restaurants, I prefer to be as close to the door as possible with my face, eyeballs facing that door. You know, and my wife knows that. I'd be like, to the point where she'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna sit right here." Oh, yeah, I'm gonna sit right there because I need to see and assess. And that is just crazy. That now this is. I mean, it's always been like that. It's just that now the threat is more real. I
Oh,
feel like the threat is way more real now than it was before.
I don't
Before,
think it's
doing those
always
things was
been
just
that
being
way.
smart. Say again?
I don't think it's always been that way. When we were
Okay.
coming up, like shootings happen, but mass shootings were not
Yeah.
a fixture. I mean, like not random mass shootings. Violence has always been a fixture in my life, coming up in different places, but people targeted folks based off of things happened and there was a logical reason and explanation as to why. There ain't no logical reason for walking into other than just hate and just pure evil, right? Ain't no business in walking into a grocery store in Buffalo and shooting up grandmas shopping for shortcake, right? And
Facts.
I'm
Facts.
gonna say this, and someone out there will be equally as upset, and I'm not being sexist. And you said something very important. You want eyeballs on the door because it is your job to protect your family and get in between them in harm's way. I just want to set that seed up for a later episode when we actually start talking about modern men and modern women and these gender roles and how we start to unpack the fluidity of it, but then also people want to hold firm to gender roles in certain situations. But I want to do that on a different episode. But
Okay.
I think
Okay. Listen, we gonna go there. Listen.
just
Let's do it.
no, let's go there on a different
Yeah,
episode because I
a
think
different
it's
time.
important. Because everybody want to get, but to tie it back to what we were originally talking about, we were going to go and just take James Baldwin quotes and start to unpack them. One of them is, "I love America more than any other country in this world. And exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually." I think some people confuse me and they think that I just really like hate America. No, I don't. I was born here. It can be a phenomenal place. In moments, it can be a phenomenal place. And like, I would be remiss if I didn't communicate that the pain and terror is also, I've been incredibly successful and blessed, and I've been I've had stripes put on my back, metaphorically speaking, right, from dealing with the racism, sexism, classism, violence, and all. Like it takes a mental toll, right? So when I'm making criticisms, it's not from a position of hate. It's a position of, can we do better? Like, can we like find find it in ourselves to become a better people and build like a better place for our children and our children's children? Um, or will we just implode like every other empire from within, internal strife, because we can't face and conquer our demons? I don't know, but this violence thing, it's I have to say it. It's black boys that in Baltimore, like that are being murdered.
Yeah.
And you know, it's something deeply wrong about that, and they're not coming from highly successful schools or economically advantaged families. They're not coming from highly educated families, right? So it doesn't take a rocket scientist, brother Solomon in the house. Hey, sorry about them last
Peace,
2 weeks,
fam.
brother.
Peace,
We
peace, peace.
appreciate you being here, but it doesn't take a rocket science to put together like the immutable facts that these are poor black boys from poor black and or brown neighborhoods. So if I sent them to, I don't know, Choate, or somebody gave Mackenzie Bezos, please give me and brother Larry here $100 million so we can start boarding school for black boys, not a charter, not a parochial school, but no, no, we would do it. I would leave.
Hands down.
I think brother Larry would leave. We would leave hands down.
Not
Have
even
the
questioned.
building built. I already had a plan in my head. I want to find a golf course that was retired that's already kind of sculpted and built. But boys that are attending these schools, kids that are attending, at least they're not typically the victims, nor are they victimizing. So it don't take a rocket scientist to see that it's a problem. Right. But, I don't know. But that's just, I think I just want to clear it up with Brother Baldwin's quote, because sometimes people think that, I'm America hater. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just want America to do better, be better, make me feel safe, make me give me the ability to breathe fresh air. That's all.
Looks like we have somebody else here. Sobral Ricardo says hugs from Brazil. You got this. So if this is from Brazil, yo, we international now, bro.
Hey,
So much love and much respect to you, and as well as Brother Solomon. Thank you so much again. Much love to you as well. So this is the question, and I think we need to unpack this, because I think there's a lot of people who are watching. Like, for example, Brother Solomon here. He is an aspiring school leader. And no, he is a school leader. I have an opportunity to speak with him deeply about the work he does. And I know a lot of people who are watching this, because we also, this content also goes into LinkedIn. So we have a lot of school leaders watching this on LinkedIn, if not live, post-recording. And I know the question is always on the tip of people's lips is, what is it that we should be doing? Because one thing I want to say is this. Man, at least for me, 17, 18 years, and with boots on the ground from pre-K. I've sat in pre-K classrooms doing observations. I've gotten the hug from the kindergartner who was doing finger painting in my Brooks Brothers suit, and it was like, oh, you just got that red ink. But you know what? At the end of the day, those were my those palm prints on my badges of honor. Yeah. But I've also sat in rooms where I spoke to a young man and said, "Listen, I heard something about you today. Is it true?" And the young man looked at me and was like, "Yes, it is." And when I said I heard something, I was told he had something. I didn't even know what it was. And the young man, out of pure respect for our relationship, went in his book bag and pulled it out. Pulled out the gun, put it on the table. And so I've been in those spaces of love and of rage. And what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna spit my selection for James Baldwin. It says here, to be black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage. You know, even when we're loving each other, we're still in rage, you know, and our children are living in and are being brought up in spaces of rage, you know. And my question is, especially now, because again, I've seen crazy as a kid in school, I've seen, and as a teacher, but now what I'm seeing is bordering on insanity. Because there is a space, and part of my language, we're like, it's almost in the space of no fucks given. Well, that really makes me nervous. And how do we change that? Because our kids are walking the streets and pulling out in broad daylight. Broad daylight.
I'm not an expert, but I'm going to share my opinion.
Please
as a former school leader. I always say once a teacher, always a teacher. Once a principal, always a principal. School leader. I'll share my opinions. One, that is one of my favorite quotes because I find it just true in every sense of the word truth. I think he summed it up. Like, we walk around a constant state of rage, even educated Black folks, highly educated Black folks. I always remember, I think when I first got to Baltimore, some people would say, "Why do you work with their children?" What do you mean, their children? This is Black people telling me this, right? Hey, what do you mean, their children? Like poor Black kids. Like, you went to Grinnell and Columbia and stuff, and you have a certificate in Harvard and stuff, and you can go work at, and I remember that, I would have certain, Black people that would, will say, "Oh, well, try and put me in a different category," as if education made me any less enraged about what I was seeing. The only difference is I know how to articulate it a little bit better. So I'll try and offer my opinion in terms of what to do. One, love unapologetically hard. Like, not playing like I love my kids and students and communities and people. Like, no, do it. I oftentimes say I got step cousin syndrome. So I treat everyone like they're my cousin, their family, unless you show me some good cause not to, right? And that includes people that, may not have the appearance that some people would deem as worthy of my attention. No, absolutely. I treat people with dignity and respect. That's a problem in policing in America. If you treat everyone with dignity and respect like they're your family, you might not have as many problems, right? It's some white officers that are in patrolling Black neighborhoods that's cool with everybody there, because they go out, talk to folks, and they come in the barbershop, sit down, get their hair cut, eat some chicken, dap it up, all right, because you'll hear sometimes, they got nicknames. What's up, Snow? What I'm saying? You hear, like, but they unapologetically treat people with respect, love, and dignity, and they don't have problems. They don't need to pull out weapons to diffuse things. So love unapologetically hard.
But can I ask you a question, though? I hear what you're saying. Now, let me take you into the classroom, okay? And this is all based on statistical data, so those of you who want to be mad, is cool. But these are facts. 80% of our teachers are white women. Mm-hmm. And some of my greatest mentors, so I'm going to preface by saying some of my greatest mentors were these white women who helped to hone my thinking and my writing skills, were phenomenal, and had invested years into Inglewood community and lived in Inglewood and were like, this is where I'm from, okay? But I've also led schools where I've had teachers who were terrified of their students. Even the best of their students were more like projects. Like, look at this project I'm working on. Okay, so now how do you teach that? How do you teach it? How do you transform? But one thing I want to say, for those of you who are watching, I've known this man for many years now, and he is a transformational leader regardless where he's at. You know, I like to say that the work I've done has been transformational work. So I want to share with those of you who are listening right now who are in that seat, or
All right.
your parents. How do you transform fear?
Let me
People
tell
who are in
you.
our classroom trying to getting a paycheck into real love and and a full commitment to the lives and journey of our children, who often a lot of them come in your classroom broken, but a lot of times they come in broken because of people just like you who have only emphasized that brokenness. So by the time they get to you, you know, but now how do we change that? How do we make that a real
Okay.
thing in our classrooms?
I'm not entirely sure, but I'll give it a go. So, screw the union. Tell the truth,
What is the truth?
right? Whatever your truth is in your situation, go ahead and lay it out there. If someone is racist at this moment, okay, I know I'm gonna end up in a hearing, but like you're racist right now, right? If someone is over coddling boys, okay, so that's not helping them. I don't need you to give them a pass on learning how to find the slant height of a pyramid, like and understanding the Pythagorean theorem. I need you to not only teach them that, but I need you to understand, teach them that pyramids have been around long before. Like unapologetically lead and tell the truth and stop worrying about red tape procedures, stop worrying about union rules and this, that, and the other, because people that I've seen that have been wildly successful, that's what they do, right? They're not concerned with all of the red tape rules that hold people back from having authentic conversations that uh, uh, create breakthroughs for people to better understand and better get to know their students. When you allow for teachers to build a oftentimes sickening relationship with students, where students are more like their puppy dogs that they feel sorry for, as opposed to they're trying to impart knowledge and make sure they're growing. Like, you failed as a leader. Yeah, go check yourself. See if you're allowing teachers to literally treat students like puppy dogs. Oh, they're so no. Like, they're trying to learn here. Tell them the truth. That was terrible. Rewrite this. Like, I'm gonna give you feedback. But like, so I think we've become so sensitive, and people are so afraid, and here's where I go into wokeness. People are so afraid to be called out as racist, they forget that they are racist. We all are. So let's get over it, right? And just call a spade, and let's figure out how we can progress. But people are so terrified that, oh, not me. Oh, I would never. Actually, yes, you would. You've been doing it all day, right? So I think it goes back to when I said, like, do you want to be heard or you want to get something done, right? Uh, do you want to be well liked and well received, or do you actually really want to get something done, right? And I think that so many teachers, especially our white female teachers, and I had some great ones, but I think they want to be well liked and received, or they just want to pass the time and keep low expectations buried and never be called out on it, because I want to be, if I'm called out on it, let me try and wield the power of my husband and or my family, because oftentimes, especially in the hood, folks typically tend to come from families that are more advantaged backgrounds. It's a whole different topic. But let me wield that power back at you as a scare tactic, or I'll just leave. Okay, well, if you're gonna leave, just leave. It's gonna be tough, but just leave then,
Yeah.
right? But if you're gonna stay, stay. And I'll say this: here's my proof in the pudding. So I get out of Grinnell College. I'm back in town. I'm going to buy a car. specifically Candy Red Mustang, right? As I said, right, God, you let
The
me out of
Mustang.
college. I'm not riding the Greyhound bus anymore. I'm gonna not eat ramen noodles anymore, and I'm going to go get a Mustang. So I was going to get a Mustang. My former sixth grade teacher is working part time at a car dealership. She's retired now. I see her and I'm delighted. I thought she was like the best thing since sliced bread as a teacher, right? So I go, hey, Miss, I don't want to call no names, and she asked me what plant I was working at. What plant? What do you mean? I just got out of one of the best liberal arts colleges in the country, right? Graduated. I'm like, she's, oh. She did the double O. Oh. What do you mean the double O? Right? I normally get that double O. You know the double O. Oh, you went to Columbia? Oh. Right? That happens quite frequently. But
Columbia,
she
South Carolina? Oh, New York.
right. New York. She gave me the double O, and I realized that even as a straight A student
Yeah.
in her class, now granted, I was bad. I was bad as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, yeah. But even as a phenomenal student, your expectations for me was that the most I would achieve would be working in a plant. Don't get me wrong. Honorable work. My daddy worked in a plant. My uncles worked in a plant. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You can feed your family, make a good living. And that was the highest that you could see me,
That's the
right?
problem.
That's the highest that you taught me. I often wondered why I got kicked out of every class I was ever in and had to sit and read in the hallway, read book. But that's when you looked across and saw me, you didn't see a VP, you didn't see an anthropologist, you didn't see a professor, you didn't see a principal, you didn't see any of that, right? No one called her out on that through her whole career. I called her out on that afterwards, but all the damage has been done. So I just think about how many more me's could be out there doing good work if folks had a went ahead, forget all the BS. Let's go ahead and call a spade, right? Like, I don't care about your test scores this year. I said this about a charter school out of New Jersey, probably got in trouble then. I stay in trouble, right? Everywhere I go, right? I don't care about your test scores right now. What are your graduates doing? I don't care about you obliterating the black-white achievement gap. How is the injury gap? And this school network operates out of Newark. So let's talk about Newark. Still got bodies dropping all over the place. Still got poverty rampant. The projects are real. You still have food deserts. You still got carjackers. You still have a lack of political. What have you shifted or changed besides pulling talented students out, sending them away, never to return? You haven't closed any injury gap. Oh, to say that I've closed the black-white achievement gap, that's nice. But what has that led to? Oh, you all just want to be heard. Oh, we're heard. But what have you really gotten done? Right? And if you're not actually willing to have that conversation, oh, your students are well behaved in class. Oh, I go past Miss So and So's class, and her students they respect her. But yeah, but they're not performing. If I ask them again to find the slant height of a pyramid and we're in their algebra class, they can't do it. But you're afraid to call her out because I'm gonna, oh, she's gonna file a union. File a union grievance. Let's go down there. Let's tell the truth there, right? You might have to die on a hill. The school might not be for you. That district might not be for you. But are you for you? Right? So I think like start with looking in the mirror and decide whether you see a kitty cat or a lion. Right? Because if you see a kitty cat, then what are you doing leading to school? If you see a lion, act like a lion. Don't take nothing off of anybody, and make sure that who you're putting in front of children, right? They know your values and they live in those values. And that would be my kind of start to it. I know I had another James Baldwin quote to attach to what I was saying. I think it went along the lines of something about being faced. Uh, I'll find it. But I mean, that's just not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced, right? Not everything that is faced can be changed. You might not change every person, but some of y'all ain't even trying. Some of y'all are so caught up in trying to be accepted and welcomed with warm arms into a world that don't really want you in the first place. So why do I wear Jordans and suits? Because Jordans is my world. Oxfords and Brogues are not. I've done it, but you know.
Let me read this quote, this comment from Brother Solomon. He says here, I have this discussion with white teachers all the time. Please don't feel sorry for black and brown students. Push and motivate them. So I'm going to back that now with my next quote from James Baldwin. All right, so I'm going to get this a little bit closer, but these eyes are not the way they used to be. It says here, I'm terrified at the moral apathy, the depth of the heart which is happening in my country. These people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I base this on their conduct, not on what they say. And this means that they have become in themselves moral monsters. Okay. And I love this quote because that whole notion of what you say versus what you do. Mm-hmm. Then when you become the morality police and you're thinking by playing in this sandbox of education, either as a teacher, as a administrator, that you're doing some overall good for society, but your belief systems and the things that's not in the light, that you might not even be aware of about yourself, those biases, is actually making you into a moral monster, but you're doing more harm than good. Because I love what you said earlier about how many of you could exist right now. But in all reality, guess what you are? You kind of have become, you and I both, and those of us who have made to where we are right now, we're the ones who slipped through the cracks. You know how it's funny when we talk about slipping through the crack is a bad thing? It's like almost like we slipped out through the cracks, and it's a good thing because we weren't, by God's grace and whatever else, we actually were able to see beyond what they saw for us and did something better. You know, and not everybody was fortunate, because I can tell you right now, going back to Inglewood High School, there was a lot of dudes who were way smarter than me, way more capable. But whenever I come across them on social media or the few times in the past when I used to go home, I'm like, what happened? Because you should have been the one, not me. You know, so it's almost like my luck is that what was expected of me, I lived beyond it. I accomplished beyond it. But not everybody was given that opportunity or that grace to actually do that.
Yeah, we're weeds. We straight up grow through the concrete. I wouldn't label myself a rose for all my Tupac fans. I'm not that cute. Well, my wife might say different, but hey, we're weeds there. I just, again, let me just go back to that Baldwin quote, because if they're moral monsters, so are we.
Elaborate.
I mean, when we've spent the better part of a century trying to emulate every speckle of a warped moral compass, then do you think we come out completely unscathed?
But were we emulating, or were we?
We engage in atrocious behaviors as Black people, and we stand for those atrocious behaviors and don't want to call ourselves out or call ourselves into a conversation to address those, right? Now, I understand that some of the root causes may not necessarily lie as our faults. And we don't like to, and I know this is Republican Monica, but we don't like to take personal responsibility for our actions. Now, I would like to say that many situations, yeah, sometimes folks have to steal to feed their little brothers and sisters. That's just a consequence of poverty. And you didn't have to shoot that clerk in the head. You didn't have to take that cat's life and take them away from their family, and then take yourself completely away from your
From
family.
yours, yeah.
Right? You didn't have to do that. Right? But you did it anyway. Right? So we also have to take a deep reflection in the mirror and look at how some of white America's warped, monstrous morality has very much also instilled that in us, right? I think the difference, one of the large differences is that power, access, and uh, economics has pushed the upper limits of twisted morality there with white America. I would say, like, it's interesting when black people when white people blame black people for the pain that they cause black people. That to me is like the monstrous moral issue, right? You cause black people great pain, but you truly believe it's our fault for the pain that you actually caused, right? That's kind of evil to me, right? Like, not like you truly believe that it's our fault that, like, we walk into a grocery store and we get followed around, and then walk out, and then I'm parked too close to somebody. I say a word and they call the police, and then police come, end up locking me up, throwing me to the ground, and say, like, you actually believe that the pain that you caused me is truly my fault. People have truly bought into this idea. And I think the separator is, we don't see, I don't think black folks see white folks as non-human and not worthy of human dignity and human rights. Forget a civil right, right? I'm fully with Brother Malcolm and other folks on that. And I think that's what got Brother King killed towards the end of his life, when he stopped looking at civil rights and started thinking about human rights. Like, wake up, we got a problem here. We got civil rights and some still ain't right. Right. So that whole notion of, you don't see me as human, it has been an undercurrent throughout time in American history, and it kind of really undergirds a lot of the treatment that we see as black folks. Even black women going into hospitals having babies, like, they can withstand more pain because they're not human. Or you can pile up 15 police officers on top of one black body because they're not really human, right? So I think that's certainly a separator, because I don't think, and this is just my opinion, I don't think black people kind of would view folks as non-human. But certainly I think that type of treatment has been branded on us, and it still is. And the fact that you can hear stories about a black man being dragged by a truck, and you think, oh, he must have done something to deserve to be dragged to death.
Or Irvo Tieno, the 28-year-old in Virginia, who was having a mental breakdown, or taken from the jail to the hospital, and had 10, 11 people on top of him until he stopped breathing.
You know what I'm saying? That's just inhumane, right? You don't put 10, 11 people, and I don't know if you've ever had to take down an animal, but you don't put 10, 11 people to take down. Like, I just was at a rodeo in Austin. You don't take 10 or 11 cowboys to take down a steer, right? But apparently for a black man that's having an issue, it requires that, right? So I think that's where brother Baldwin was putting, like when I say that, like, we've bought into some of those monstrous practices, and it's no way of getting around black on black crime. There's no way of getting around certain things that are inexcusable. But I think that I can start tracing roots for some of those issues, but people still have to accept personal responsibility. But at the end of the day, like, I think that, like, folks see folks as human, and I think that whole notion that I'm somehow inherently less. I mean, like, scientifically speaking, I mean, like, some people are still into eugenics and phrenology and all this kind of debunked crazy science. Hell, this whole science fields like anthropology that are founded under, like, let's be real, the father of gynecology, I forget his name, was a slave owner that performed just the most grotesque experiments on black women in order to pioneer, this. So I think it's that notion of, like, somehow we're,
and let's make sure we name them. J. Marion Sims. Let's make sure we name them, because let's not just say. And that's one thing I'm realizing. This is a space where a lot of people are also learning. So if you're watching this and you're like, father of gynecology, yes, J. Marion Sims, 1813 to 1883.
But we're quick to jump on Mengele, right? Because he ran experiments on Jewish folks, and it's the worst thing, the Holocaust, and it was absolutely just appalling. But we forget that so-called Dr. Sims, who pioneered this field, actually ran the most brutal experiments, no anesthesia, like, operating on the genitals of black enslaved women. But we can't acknowledge that because they're not human.
So let me read this little clip here, this little segment here. In the 1840s, the Alabama physician James Marion Sims conducted infamous experimental gynecological surgery exclusively on black women, bound to surgical table by chattel slavery, physical force, and opium. So you just going to drug them, because opium doesn't stop the pain. You can't move. The drug did not allay their pain, and some historians think that they became addicted to it. So not only did you literally perform surgery, the opium just made them, they weren't able to move, but then they also afterwards were damaged physically and then also mentally, because now they were addicted to opium. And these were exclusively black women.
Mm-hmm. And that's just one situation, but this is what we don't want to talk about. And like, we don't want to acknowledge, and see, like, we don't want to acknowledge actual history. We don't want to acknowledge what's happening today, right at this moment, right? We don't want to acknowledge that. It baffles me how billions of dollars in equipment, all this stuff, can be sent over to Ukraine. Billions of dollars. Are you I dare anybody to come and debate me that I couldn't find dilapidated school buildings all over this country. And we know what type of communities they're going to be in. Primarily black and brown. But we literally can send Abrams tanks. Yep. like it don't take Tupac to rap about this, but these other rappers rap. But like it's a reality. It really is. So, again, when I have some OG white teachers that work for me that they know the business. But and also something about many of the teachers, the white teachers that work for me came up in poverty. And something about like poverty makes you see things. You don't like, and I recruited a certain time. Like I didn't like, not to say that if you're wealthy you can't see, but something about just coming from the bottom, you're like, yeah, I don't feel sorry for these black kids, cause I ain't had nothing either. So if you want something and you ain't got nothing, you better sit down in this classroom and listen to what I have to say, because we gonna like. And again, I always said that like those teachers, I think, really saw their babies as humans and really loved their kids and loved hard and taught hard and made sure kids were successful. But I'm like, you got to be nosy and snuff out all those. You got to call a spade, and yeah, it's gonna. Every school, every assignment ain't for you. Not saying go out and quit your job today. Yeah, it won't break my soul. All that, man. But if you're not willing to walk away, if you're not willing to be fired. I remember when I worked for a nonprofit in New York, me and the CFO got into a heated exchange because they wanted me to throw away like the leftover food. Are you crazy? You know how many families I got surrounded by projects there in East Harlem that need this food to come by and get this extra food, and you want me to throw it away because you're afraid that one person might get food poison and sue us? Okay, we just be sued then. Have you been hungry? When was the last time you was hungry? Right? I know it's been a while for me, but I mean, like, so if you are afraid to lead in that type of way, right? Knowing that, oh yeah, I might get terminated. Okay, I'm educated. I'll get a job somewhere. Right? It's your kids that can't go off and get a job somewhere if they're poorly educated, don't have the skills that. I think what Dr. Young saying, you might have to find a hill to die on. I have. I'm still here. Right? But I think so many people are so afraid and they're so busy trying to conform. Let me contort and twist myself into it. I can't believe the sneaker principal really rolled up in that meeting with Jordans. Why? Like, people try and twist themselves to fit some of these warped morals, and they literally forget. And I'm not gonna lie to you, for a while I kind of did. I was trying to let me see if I can and then I just came to the conclusion when I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter what I do. I'm still gonna show up as 300-pound bald head black dude with a beard, right? And I cannot dismiss who my mother and father are. I cannot dismiss who my grandmothers and grandfathers are, right? Why should I even attempt to? Let me just embrace and celebrate me. And that gave me just a different perspective on leading and leading unapologetically. As I always say, my grandmother's chopped cotton and my granddaughter's chopped cotton in Mississippi, right? So if you're going to come into my school, you need to be trying to educate children not to be going down I just get frustrated with folks just so focused on conforming and norming to these sets of rules. And hey, if I do exactly what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to be fully accepted into that. Now, Brother Larry, when all of our black asses went down to the Harvard Club, and was it the Harvard Club, Columbia Club, whichever one it was.
It was the Princeton. It was the Princeton Club.
And it was the Princeton Club. It was the beautiful, most blackest thing you ever seen.
Goodness. All black men. All
all
black
black
men.
men, bald headed with dreads and all this, and we all alums. But boy, you should have saw that looks and whispers in that room. It don't matter if we came in dressed to the nines. The
Just
first
let's
thing
just
and
remember
the
again.
last thing was gonna be cocoa skin they saw.
Remember when we sat in there. We walked in. They were playing music. The piano and the thing. All of a sudden, we're sitting there talking. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we might have been a little energetic, but we're black men. Okay, but I don't think we were out of pocket. All of a sudden, I'm like, are they playing Mary J. Blige? Because
Yeah.
I've been there so many times. All of a sudden, they were playing hip hop. And I was like, I think it might have been the first time in the history of the Princeton Club in the dining room. And those of you who listen, understand this. It's not even a restaurant. It's not a restaurant. It's the dining room. There is no money exchange. You walk in there, and of course, we all notice this. All the servers are all look like they're Indian or Pakistani or that part of the world. I was like, all that was missing was the turban, and we would have been back in the 1800s. But I just to this day I tell that story all the time. We sat in there, all highly educated black men, and all of a sudden somebody decided to change the soundtrack and was like, let's let everybody know it's hip hop night at the Princeton Club dining room.
Yeah. Yeah. And my thing is, okay, cool. It's hip hop night. I fully embrace it. Come on with it. Next time I roll in, enjoy. Like again, I roll up to meetings. It don't matter who you like. I just said, and I got plenty of dress shoes and Oxfords but I'm just not doing it. Why? Because I don't care. My feet feel better than it's a part of me. And like, who made this rule? But people are afraid that, if I don't wear the right thing, I'm not gonna be invited into the club. I got news for you. When you get in the club, they still gonna treat you like.
Yeah, they will.
So you might as well enjoy being
And
right.
I'm yet to meet that. I am yet to meet that school leader, that leader who followed all the rules and was highly successful. Is all the ones who were willing to get into good trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like the number of decisions I've made where I was like, this is probably gonna get me fired. But you know what though? It's now it's a race. My success before me getting fired. And guess what happens all the time? I'm successful. My decision was right, and they couldn't fire me. If anything, I even let them take the credit for the work. Take the credit, it's cool, but I know what really happened here. But again, you can't be brother Archie said, you can't be afraid. Because if you're not willing to put it on the line for your children, for your school community, then why are you there?
I know that we're overtime, but the
Yes.
reason people are afraid is because if you're a public school leader, you're a government agent. You're technically an agent of the state, right? So
Why not
you
just
run the
why not
risk.
just be
You run the risk of being fired all the time, right?
yeah?
But like my thing is again, in embrace yourself, love yourself, and be your best you, so you can be your best you for your kids, and stop being so woke that all you want to do is be heard and be seen, right? I think those are probably the folks that I can't stand the most, that they're so woke, they're heard and seen, but when you ask them about have you got a policy change, have you gotten people hired, have you got black and brown and women owned and veteran owned and LGBTQ plus owned businesses, like contracts and money, have you created jobs, have you gotten somebody elected in office, right? Have you but no, you just led a protest for an hour and spewed out a bunch of words as if that actually, like, no substance and plan behind it. But you're woke. You're able to call me out. Oh, you didn't use the correct pronouns. Who gives a when kids are being murdered at an
Murdered.
astronomical rate in cities? Who cares when kids can't read? What are you worried about? The right pronouns when someone can't read? Why are you worried about, did I use the right this and that when you're too afraid to hire transgender teachers in your school. I've been corrected by people that have never hired a transgender teacher in their school. But you're publicly correcting me as if I'm not woke enough, but I'm the person that's willing to take a risk and say, "Oh, no. What do you mean? People are people are people. I don't care what they do in their spare time. I don't care what clothes they." But so I'm saying, like what do you actually do? You want to be heard or you want to get something done? And I think you just kind of really, like, you asked me what people need to do. You really have to decide whether you just want to be heard or whether you want to get something done. Because if you want to get something done, that's you got to get some stripes on your back, and you might have to pick a hill to die on. But if you just want to be heard, you can tell us about white supremacist culture all day long, right? You can hop on podcasts and you can go to ivory towers and talk about it all day long. But what are you actually doing? What have you actually done? You can talk about, oh, we're closing the black white achievement gap. Yeah, cool. Don't your kids go home to the projects at night? Have you thought about housing?
Food.
Isn't the whole school board still almost all white with this black? Have you thought about trying to help parents like get on the school board? Uh, have you thought about trying to get a grocery store in this neighborhood? Maybe a bank, right? Anchor institutions. You got a school, grocery store, and a bank. I'm just saying, like, so have you thought about getting rid of some of these racist white teachers that you have? Have you thought about getting rid of some of these lazy racist black teachers that you have? I know lazy is a trigger for some people, so I threw that out there just to see what swings back my way. But it's true,
Yeah.
right? You come to work every day late. Come to work looking as unprofessional as possible, and you put as little effort as possible into educating your kids, and you think because you're black you get a pass. Nah. And that's what I mean by, like, we've adopted into some of those monstrous moral, like that's some of our doing as well. But that's just my shake. I know we're over for the evening, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna shut up talking. I'm gonna have one last sip of Uncle Leonard's. Shout out Uncle RP Uncle Leonard. It's my wife's great uncle, passed away in 2022 down in North Carolina. But I have some of the last moonshine that he ever produced. We're not supposed to talk about illegal stuff on there. I have some alcohol that he gifted me. It happens to be clear.
Now, this is just coffee, and I feel like I should have poured myself a little bit of Uncle Nears for this evening.
Oh,
But yeah, I got a bottle downstairs.
84.
I gotta tell you something. Which was funny because you were talking about you had texted me about James Baldwin, and in my mind, see the thing about James Baldwin. I always picture him doing one thing consistently. Any of you have ever seen this man doing? He always had a cigarette in his hand. I always had a cigarette in his hand. So it's funny because I was going to have a cigar this evening with me. And then I came out and you had a cigar.
These are, I don't know if they can see, these are Carolina Blues. Did you smoke cigars for my birthday party? Oh, look, we're getting all the way off topic.
I still got it. I still got it.
Carolina Blues. So this is a black-owned cigar brand in North Carolina. I know I'm giving free advertisement. And Uncle Nearest is also a black women-owned brand. They're out of Shelbyville, Tennessee. A lot of folks know about Uncle Nearest now. But I put my money where. See, people be thinking I put my money where my money goes where my mouth is. No, for birthday parties, my wife knew to make sure you take it to a black-owned club. Make sure that you had black-owned cigar. She knew that, no, you got to put your money where your mouth is. No, I didn't go party at in Cabo and spend a lot. Nah, we pull money back into the community. Even
into the community.
What we ate for brunch the next day, it was black owned. So shout out Carolina Blues. If you're a cigar person, there you go. There are black owned brands out there for you to try. Not to say don't continue to smoke what you love and you like from other places, but give the black owned brands a shot as well.
Be conscious.
Put it in your rotation. You know what I'm saying? But put your money where your mouth is, right? Because that's economics is power, and if we can make it, I'm gonna also support there. But yeah, James Baldwin always had to have a cigarette because he was the most dangerous man in America. They thought Malcolm X was, but James Baldwin always got uninvited from speaking events because black people were terrified to have him speak because the brother just told the truth.
Told the truth. Told the truth.
And that, my friend, is terrifying to white people and to black people.
So in closing, pick out another quote. I have a quote that I want to close with. I'm not going to make any commentary. I'm just going to spit my quote and drop the mic, and you do the same thing. So while you're picking your quote out, I'm going to read mine. I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain.
Well, where do I want to go? I think I'll end off what I said with love. Love takes off the mask we fear we cannot live without, and know we cannot live within.
Facts. Actually, we're not gonna end right there. We're gonna do one more thing. You see the quote right here? Right now, for some reason, my on-screen quote is not working. But Brother Solomon just put on here. I got an interview for an AP position at elementary school next week. First of all, brother, I'm sending you all the positive energy. We've had time to sit down and to actually talk on a Zoom call, and you are more than capable and more than powerful to begin your journey towards becoming a principal. Just remember, the AP is just the first step. You know what I'm saying? In preparation for you to actually run your own school, and God willing, I would love to hear one day superintendent, in front of your name. So, brother Tyson, any advice for Brother Solomon before he walked into this interview?
See, Larry say superintendent. I want to see Secretary of Education. I don't like I ain't supposed to be here, so I'm like, yeah, you ain't supposed to be Secretary of Education, but you can be. My advice is, man, go in unapologetically as you.
Facts.
Right? Don't be anyone else. Right? If you don't want me as me and what I believe in and what I love, then it's not the right place for me. And I know that coins absolutely matter, but happiness and love and dedication and progress for your kids definitely matters as well. And job opportunities will definitely come and go, but finding that place where you can go about your work it's just of the utmost importance there. So it's so crazy because when I started doing me, everybody wanted to talk to me. When I was playing that game, I was like, why am I not? I was thinking, I was like, Kanye, I'm gonna say, are these dudes that much better than me? Nah, you just playing a game. Right? When I start being just like, nope, I'm just gonna leave it on out there. If you want to hire me, hire me. If you don't, you don't. It became crazy. So be yourself, and don't play anyone else's game. If you're knowledgeable and stick firm to your values, stick firm to the values that your ancestors passed on to you, you'll be absolutely fine. And if it doesn't work out, that ain't the place for you. Holler at us, and hey, we'll make some calls. Ain't no problem.
Facts.
Right, literally,
there's a powerful network here, so no doubt.
Ain't no problem.
All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who watched live and those of you who are watching this post-recording, thank you so much. Please leave a comment, share this content. Hopefully, you see what we're doing here. This is not about fluff. If you're watching this, you hopefully walking away with something to think about and something to actually even apply in your own schooling community or even in your career. And with that being said, this is the Ivy League Hood Rats, and coming to you from me, Uche and Njoku, and then also my brother here.
AT Archie Tyson signing off this evening.
All right. Have a good night, y'all.